What's up?
What's happening?
I finished that yogurt just in time.
Perfect.
How's your week been, man?
Man, it has been a whirlwind. It's been just one of those weeks that feels super long, but it's not.
I don't know how this can go.
It just, I don't know. Long days, lots of hours, and crushing it out.
I like hearing that, man.
How's yours going? How's the boy doing?
Well, he's still positive, so he's not at school today. We didn't think we were going to have the show. I told Ryan this morning, I was like, yeah, we're going to at least hop on and be like, hey, we'll be back tonight. Because tonight my wife will be home, but she took the afternoon off, so here we are.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So dude, honestly, he just had a fever. But because he's contagious, he can't go anywhere. So we're just following the rules, Yeah, man. So yeah, week's been pretty decent. I got next to nothing done all week because of my son being home.
Oh, okay.
So, but man, I have the patience to not lose my head over that. So that's cool. Previous version of me would have been freaking out, dude. Like, I can't do this. I can't miss work. And And then now it's just like, hey, sorry.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it or not, I didn't do this. Like, I didn't choose for my son to be sick. I'm not trying to get out of work or something. Plus, I love doing this stuff. So I'm not trying to not do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was good, dude. I mean, it was a good week. Those are not my complaints. That is me reporting facts of my experience this week. So just want to make that clear. You getting busy with the campaign stuff yet?
Oh, it is unreal. We're scheduled through November around the state right now. So yeah. The kickoff party's on the 15th, so 4 days away. Here at Omnivest.
4 days away.
4 days away, the big kickoff. The official announcement, the press release went out already. And that's been picked up by a few news outlets, and then he's had a few interviews, and yeah, it's going to be a nice little party.
Awesome.
Yeah, to kick off the next year of campaigning.
Welcome to Dillon and the Doc, the show where we talk conservative politics. This is 95.5 FM. Not really. So I guess that's cool, dude. I'm stoked on that for you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It'll be cool to see you in all sorts of different places, new backgrounds all the time.
New backgrounds. Yeah, I'll keep everybody updated what town I'm in.
Heck yeah. This other small town in Wyoming and this other small town in Wyoming. Yeah. Great. Yeah, dude. So who the hell are you? Why are you here? Why am I talking to you? What is this all about? What is going on? I don't even know you.
Yeah. Well, I hope you do.
Okay, I guess I do.
Good afternoon, Jen. Good afternoon, Jackie. My name's Dr. Ryan. I'm an expert in the field of relationship development. I'm also a professional relationship coach, giving you the tools to help you just have an awesome relationship where you're communicating. Communication is the one tool I push out and really help you focus and wrap your mind around. Who are you?
My name. I just wanted to say that's like the most powerful tool anybody could have in their toolbox. At the end of the day,
it is.
Even communicating with yourself, just so you know. Yeah, which is what I do a lot of. I'm Dillon Reed, and I am a professional recovery coach, sobriety coach, whatever word you want to use for it. I spent 20 years drinking, and I spent the last 3.5 years not drinking. And I do it without going to meetings all the time. I do have a therapist. I don't see my therapist all the time, though. I don't do, intensive outpatient. I don't do anything like that. I have a system that's helped me stay sober for this long. That has nothing to do with most stuff that people are trying to do. And that's what I'm here to share with you. So together we make Dillon
and the Doc.
And the Doc. Dude, one of these days I'm going to get it right. And yeah, we talk relationships and recovery. If you got those questions, drop them in the comments. We'd love to answer any questions you have that are relationship recovery or personal development based, because that's our forte.
It is.
Yeah, what's up?
It is.
Now you know who we are and what we do. Yeah,
we're gonna jump right into it. I had a question for you right away, right off the bat.
okay.
We're just gonna jump into it. So you were saying, like, you're so grateful that you have the patience.
Yeah.
That your kid's sick, that you get to stay home with him, and it's not a big thing. Like, oh my God, I got work, I got this, I got that to do. Impatience is one of those things that is one of the silent killers of relationships. Like, you got to have patience with yourself, which is going to tie a lot into sobriety, I think.
Yeah.
But you got to have a lot of patience with your partner.
Do
Like,
I though?
you do. Like, you have to have patience with your wife. She's got to have patience with you.
Well, okay, that's true. That part's true. That part's true.
You do. You have to have some patience, because you start getting in your head and it gets into that negative self-talk bullshit wheel that you get into, like, oh, I've got this to do, oh, I've got that to do. You start making excuses, you start blaming, you start judging, and it becomes this self-revolving door of BS that you get into, instead of just stepping back away. And we're going to get into this with active listening, stepping away and thinking, right, I need to have a little patience here. Like, what's actually going on, and trying to understand the situation.
You don't tell me about my hamster wheel, dude.
How'd you find that? Like, like, that had to be like just something that clicked in your self growth, your personal growth, when you were going through recovery. Not necessarily something you may have immediately recognized, but it's something that grew and developed.
So, yeah. I'm going to try to tackle that as best as I can.
Okay.
So, time takes time.
Oh, what?
Yeah, that's the most annoying phrase I ever heard, ever. And I had it pounded. It was as a joke. It was pounded in a group of us. We'd pounded in each other's heads, and it was like said mockingly, but like it's true. And we said it enough times, ironically, that it just became like a truism in life that we accepted.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, totally. So it's like, that's really helped with my patience, recognizing everything's a season. Like right now, I have a 2-year-old who's decided that, my wife and I's bed is also her bed every single night. And I'm like, okay, do I fight her for 20 minutes, lose 20 minutes of sleep? Do I let her crawl in bed with us, still probably lose 20 minutes of sleep, but it'll be like spread out? Like, what do I do? And then I talked to my wife about it, and we were like, both like, hey, it's a season. Like, we can try to do something about it, but give it, 3 months, she'll be like, I'm doing my own thing again. Something different will happen, right?
Yeah.
So that,
hopefully.
well, it's worked with all the other kids, so we're gonna bank on it working here too, But yeah, so it's like, time takes time. Was the biggest thing for me to understand, to let patience
Will you
occur.
explain that a little bit?
So it's annoying because time does take time. So it's like, okay, my wife and I, in the beginning, we're separate. For those of you that don't know that, we're in different states, and we're in the middle of a divorce, and I'm freshly sober, and she wants nothing to do with me. Doesn't want to talk to me on the phone. Fine, whatever. And I go, I don't know if this is permanent. I don't know if it's temporary. I don't know any of this, because she's not letting me know what any of this stuff is. What the heads or tails. All I know is that there is a thing that says we're going to get divorced, and I have to accept that time takes time. So the answer will eventually reveal itself, and I have to be patient to find out what that thing is. Granted, at the same time, I'm actively participating in my life. Okay, I'm not saying being patient means sit here and wait for life to happen to you. Like, you still need to be happening to life, but there are things that are going to be out of your control, and you just allow them to occur. You allow those things to happen. Like my son, man, I was really hoping he was going to have a negative test. He'd be able to go to school today. In an ideal world, that's what was going to happen. That's what wasn't happening. And then to further illustrate the level of patience I've started to develop over the years is I get up this morning and I always walk 10,000 steps a day, 10,000 plus steps. It's a thing I do. And I'm like, okay, I'll get my kids to school. This was after I went to the gym. I already did my cardio. I'm like, I still need about 7,000 steps today. It's like 5-6 passes around the block. Like I can get that done after I drop my kids off to school before my wife goes to work.
Yeah.
I get home from dropping my kids off to school. My son, the one that has COVID, gets out of bed and he has such a bad ear infection. It's visible like on the outside of his ear. So
Jeez.
There goes walking around the block. There then becomes going to an urgent care place or somewhere to take care of the kid. So it's like, I didn't lose my shit. I was like, whatever. My wife's like, well, maybe I can take the day off. I was like, no, you already took some time off this week. Don't worry. I wouldn't have been able to do that back in the day because the other thing that I really learned is like, as long as you're moving forward, you're always winning. Like it's way difficult to see that, especially in early recovery, because you don't, what feels like a huge stride looks like little baby steps to everyone around you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I could go on about this like all episode if you want me to.
Yeah.
But I don't think I don't think we want to do that.
No, I think that's important to look at because being impatient, you're always looking for the quick fix.
Like drinking,
like resolving a problem in the relationship, right? Yeah. Let's talk about it and it's done. That's not the case. Like you have to show that it's done. You have to have a plan for it being done. There has to be goals. There's a lot that goes into it, and it's not a quick fix.
No. And here's Ryan always keeping me grounded about all these things relationship related. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it really is, man, anytime I get frustrated over something that requires patience, I seriously just go, time takes time.
Yeah.
Like I even in business, I'm like, man, I wish this would happen. I wish this would happen. And you have to realize you're steadily working towards that thing. When that thing occurs, it will occur. I cannot just wake up in the morning, push magic button, and I'm retired. Because that's what we're all working towards, right? Like that's the goal, to be retired. Yeah. We have to work. We got to be patient about it.
You kind of have to put the blinders on to A, you have to have patience. B, you have to put the blinders on. And I think we can talk about this a little bit, to those external circumstances, because those external things start to divert you from progress, divert you from your goals. Like we've talked about it a bunch. I'll put it in relationship context and sobriety because people have talked about both, right? It's how can I go to this, go and be a regular person, go to this party, go do this, go do that. And it's diverting your attention away from the main goal, which is me, my personal growth, prioritizing my relationship. And I think to me, it's a super important thing to think about, those external circumstances and how much of an impact they have on your ability to achieve goals, to set up a successful relationship, to become sober, to like even start to become sober, to fix a problem in your relationship.
Yeah.
When you're thinking about all these other things that really don't have anything to do with anything.
Yeah. Yeah. You're treading over into like event plus response equals outcome territory.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. And it makes sense. Like, to illustrate what you're talking about this morning, I had choices. I still had choices today, right? I had choices on how I was going to respond to the situation. At one point, my wife was kind of like, you look a little grumpy. I was like, I'm not really grumpy. I'm just like sort of frustrated. Like I had a plan. I know that plan's not happening now. So then my brain goes, okay, what are we doing next? And old me, he's always the first person to talk. Weak Dillon. I always tell him to shut up. He's always the first one on the scene with an idea, and it's always a terrible idea. And his terrible idea was like, you can just play video games today. Like your son, he's just gonna hang out. He's like sort of crawling. He's like 7 months. Oh, I guess it would be 8 months today. Literally today, 8 months. Um, so it was like I just play video games and get absolutely nothing accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, shut up. It's not what you get to do. Like I did a bunch of meal prep. I did some cleaning around the house. Like it's like there's stuff you can do, but it was a matter of responding to the situation, going, okay, I don't have any control over the fact that my son's sick. I do have control of how I respond to this.
Yeah.
And it's through patience that I'm able to make that decision, because I didn't just jump to the first solution that I came up with. It wasn't, it was a problem.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I put in place in my program an entire section dedicated to overcoming obstacles to goal achievement.
Dude, smart.
Because every goal you have, you're going to have an obstacle. So to me, it's like, what are 3 obstacles that might get in my way of achieving this goal? Right? 3 little things. It just puts your mind into that framework of, okay, I'm going to hit these roadblocks. How can I problem solve to get over them? Right? You're weak. I've got this plan. What are some things that could go wrong? My kid might get sick. Other external circumstances could happen. I can allow this to divert, or I can problem solve and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do.
Totally, right? Dude. Totally. I really, really like that idea. I cover that on a case-by-case basis, but I don't have like a whole chapter, I suppose, in my program to work with that. I might steal that from you.
Yeah, but it's super helpful to be able to identify and then list out ways to overcome those obstacles.
Well, I guess I do in a different way, a roundabout way, because it's like, I mean, in the beginning, we are focused like 10 inches ahead, like we're not doing that. But later on, when they start saying stuff like, I'm like, how are you doing? They're like, oh, everything's good. I'm like, really? Okay. Well, then let's start talking about what not good looks like.
Yeah.
So that when you get to that not good, like, Cool Runnings. You ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
Dude, when they're in the bathtub and they're practicing all those turns, like you need to be doing that with your life. About potential turns that you're going to have to take. Like, how are you going to pivot? Right.
That's a great metaphor. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
It is.
In parables. What's up, dude?
It is. It's practicing on the go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, this is a little bit of a tangent. Do you mind if I just kind of like take a little walk?
Let's hear it.
I'm still so torn on this concept, because the neuroscience is there that if you're thinking about an action you're going to take in the future, you experience it in your head as if you did it. So for a percentage of the population, they did it already, then they don't do it. Like, because they think that they did it, they don't take the action. Or that's the theory, right? That's one of the theories. I don't subscribe to that theory at all, because that's like this theory of like, you should never create systems of social accountability, because then, like, okay, if I post on Facebook that I'm going to quit drinking, then I already did, so then I don't do it, right?
Yeah.
I think of it the other way around. Like, you're more likely to continue to think about said action and follow through on said action, right?
Yeah.
And then you're building muscle memory, like mental muscle memory. I don't know what the hell you would call it, to make the right choice when the right choice comes around, because you're thinking through that thing, So it's like imagination. You're using your imagination to prepare for a future event. I don't want my clients living in their heads. Like, that's not the best place to be, because you could be ruminating, catastrophizing, all those things. But when it comes to like preparing for a possible future event, maybe spend a little bit of time so that when someone does go, hey, do you want a drink? You don't think through. You just say, no. Like, no, I don't. You know, I'm good. Thanks. Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to talk about like to me, it's interesting. There's some science that says you shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be rehearsing our future, because we've already accomplished said goal by rehearsing it. And I'm going,
here's the thing on that. There's a lot of research that says you should be, and it's through imagined interactions theory.
Yep.
I wish Honeycutt was on here.
Honeycutt, where are you?
I
Come
wish
on.
he's the one that developed the theory of imagined interactions.
You
And
should
what you're
reach out to him and see if he wants to be on the show now that we
oh,
could have
100%,
3. You should
100%
do
he would.
that.
He would.
That'd be cool.
So he developed that theory. It's a super, super awesome theory about communication and exactly what you're talking about. It's rehearsal.
Yeah.
Rehearsal of talking. So it's less about it is about action, it's about communication.
Mhm.
And what you were kind of getting at is called discrepancy.
Okay.
So you have high to low discrepancy between what you thought and how it actually happens so me and my wife are having something happen, and I think in my head what the outcome is going to be, how she's going to respond to it, how the conversation is going to go. This is based on past experiences, obviously.
Yeah.
So then how different is it from the actual conversation? So when the actual conversation happens, does it go exactly like I thought it would? Like I had rehearsed in my head, or does
Oh,
it go a little
dude.
different? But you build on those experiences. So sobriety, it'd be building on those experiences. In that case, you would be rehearsing how you were going to tell somebody you didn't drink. You were going to be rehearsing running into somebody and them asking you. The thing with early recovery, just like early relationships, is you don't have experiences to draw upon. So at
Right.
first, you're going to have a lot of discrepancy. There's going to be a lot of difference between what you have imagined in your head and how those conversations go and what actually occurs. But as you go and you have more experiences, you start to become better at predicting the outcome of the conversation, how they will actually happen.
Totally. Totally. Hello,
So,
Alana.
hey, Alana. Hey, Sean. So yeah, it's imagined interactions is super, super important. Such an important theory.
That's really interesting.
He talks about catastrophizing. He talks about conflict. He talks about ruminating. He talks about relationship. Like there are so many things in that theory
Yeah.
that when you actually look at it, it's applicable to every area of your life.
Love it. I love it, dude, because I think about early recovery in my relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and that was like half of the problem that my wife and I had was that there was there was a freaking, I don't know, like Mariana's Trench between her and I in terms of what to expect from one another because I was no longer the same person,
Mm-hmm.
which then brought a different person out in her because
Yeah.
she did not know like how to react or respond to this new guy that's in her
Mm-hmm.
life. So it was like two strangers meeting for the first time that happened to have 2 kids already. It was just a really weird experience. Then I'd like try to rehearse. I'd be in the shower, like, okay, this is how I'm going to have this conversation, right?
Yeah.
And then I go have the conversation and it's nothing like what I planned. So then I'm like, what the hell do I do now?
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do. Like this
Yeah.
is complicated. That's gnarly, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. It's super cool. Dude, check his stuff out. It's awesome. But yeah, and we'll get into some of this because a lot of that is where active listening will come in. It's where you're listening to understand.
Well, damn it.
Oh, weird. And
Why does everything connect? Why is it all connected?
Why does it all connected? I don't know. That's kind of how my brain works.
Damn.
But yeah, so yeah, that's a great example. Like you were relearning who you were, so you were a different person.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
And she didn't she was doing the same thing in her mind, whether she notices or not. She was practicing conversations with this new person.
Right.
But like those conversations, there was a lot of discrepancy between what she thought and how they actually took place until things started happening and you had more experiences to draw upon.
Totally.
And I mean, you can see this in the research. Introverts have higher discrepancy between how they imagine things going in a conversation and how they actually happen
Because they're not having the conversations.
because they don't have the conversations, they don't have the skills.
Dude.
And extroverts have much lower discrepancy.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Dude, Well, and it's weird because like when you bring it up, it connects some dots, excuse me, from like the past, because so many times in the beginning, the communication gap was caused by my wife having a conversation with the man I used to be.
Yeah.
So it was like, I'm like, well, I don't know why why you're talking to me this way. Like I haven't done, she's just used to me behaving and reacting in a certain
Mm-hmm.
way. When I don't react in that way, she's still carrying on a conversation as if that occurred
Yeah.
still, So it was just
Yeah.
this weird dynamic. But after a couple months, it was like, oh, cool. Like you are different. It's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I'm so right. I'm using my brain now. Like I'm actually present,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, dude, that's cool. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be Googling when we're done here. How about that?
Do it.
So
If you want any of the articles, let me know. I'm pretty sure I have
all of them.
every single one of them.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
dude.
it's
So I wanted to I want to hear about how it has to do with active listening.
you do.
Yeah. I
So
demand it, in fact.
so one of those things is like you were talking, you and your wife in the beginning, you were playing these things in your head
Hmm.
rather than sitting down and having a conversation about what was going on to express how you feel, what you needed, your desires. But
You're
instead
just
of
gonna call
expressing
me
those,
out in public.
100%. But that's where active listening comes in, because once you do that, you've given her a way, you've given her a tool to understand you, to decrease some of that uncertainty, to decrease some of the discrepancy that she was having between what she thought in her mind the conversation would go like and how it actually went.
Sometimes I feel like you just keep telling me to communicate with people to
Oh,
solve
weird.
problems, and it's just so frustrating to have the same conversation all the time.
Well, I'm
Because you're
sorry.
right. Because you're right every time. I'm so tired of you being right all the time.
Communication's so big.
So yeah, that makes sense. I I suppose I trended towards that in time because we started having like you get to a point where you recognize it, like I don't know, I never recognized it, but what happened, I can recognize it now as we did start having those conversations.
Yeah.
I don't know, did I ever talk about fuzzy pineapple on here before?
Once.
Our
Yeah.
safe word.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It was our conversation safe word. So it was like
Mhm.
when we were having tough talk, if you need a timeout, you just said fuzzy pineapple. And that,
Yeah.
for the record, that didn't mean you lock it in a closet in a chest or something and you never bring it back. It just
Yeah.
means like for right now, we're
Hmm.
going to leave that alone and let's talk about something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so a caveat on that, I like that you said that, because I tell all of my clients, you do need to have a safe word or a statement or something where if the conversation gets too heated or you feel like there's not going to be any resolution or you're just overcome by feelings, you need to say that so that you can, but it tells both of you, we're going to leave for 30 minutes, hour, whatever it is. The point is that you're going to come back and discuss that at a later time when you've collected your thoughts, you've chilled out a bit, and you can actually have that conversation.
Yeah. I used to do that. I'd just go to the garage and drink a beer, but then I got sober and I didn't get to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Then we actually had the conversations. So there you go.
Oh, oh, weird.
Hey, growth. So
Growth.
yeah, dude. So you want to hammer on some active listening now? You want
Yeah.
to?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
I'll
now is
talk.
probably a pretty decent time
Yeah.
to.
I'll get into it. So we talked about it a little bit, obviously,
Yeah.
but there's a lot to it. So active listening isn't just about the verbal, it's also about the nonverbal. Yours and the other person's, engaging in the head nodding, watching their arms when they're crossed, the scales on their face, all of that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But you want to make sure that you are nodding in agreement, disagreement, whatever it is. You're maintaining eye contact with that person. You really want to show them that you're interested in what they're saying. You're attentive to what they're saying.
Tell me
And
more.
And the way, tell you more,
Tell
the
me more.
way the way you do that is you clarify after they're done speaking and summarize what they said. Paraphrase, you ask questions open-ended. The point is you want to reflect on what your wife or your husband has said. So, in addition to that, so you've asked questions, you've done this, but you also want to acknowledge their feelings if their feelings are brought into it. You don't just want to glance over that, skip over that, ignore that. Um, because you're going to be providing feedback to show them that they've been heard, that you actually understood what they were trying to say. So, active listening is listening to understand. It's not listening to respond. You're you're actively trying. I kind of I like that it's active listening, but you're actively understanding is kind of the crux of it all. And once you start to do this, like especially if trust has been broken in some way, starting to do this in the relationship is where you're going to begin to rebuild that trust because you're showing an interest.
Yeah, like I care.
Yeah, like I actually care what you're
I'm
saying.
here.
Oh,
You're here.
weird. It it increases your ability to empathize with your partner, put yourself in their shoes. Um, and a thing I've been hitting on this week is really this idea of mutual respect in the relationship. But this is also how you're going to go about resolving conflict. This this is how conflict is going to be resolved is through active listening, understanding. I'm going to give everybody some activities to do if they want to do them. That really helps when you're starting to do it. So the first one's mirror listening. This one's probably one of my favorites. So you really just kind of set everything aside for a minute and you allow one person to share their thoughts or feelings while the other person listens, actively listens and reflects back on what they heard. So set amount of time, like choose 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay.
And you're just going to listen to what they're saying. So they're going to choose a topic that they want to talk about. You're going to listen 5 or 10 minutes. Once that's done, you stop. Then the person who was listening has to repeat back what they heard in their own words. So this is where the understanding comes in because now you have to, for 5 minutes, remember everything they've said and repeat it back to them. It's a practice in miscommunication because a lot of times when we're talking or when we're listening to respond. So we're missing half the message. And what we actually hear is what we want to hear.
Decoding selectively.
Yeah. So we're hearing what we want to hear instead of what was actually said. We're taking away what we want to take away instead of the whole message.
Yeah.
So that's why I like that one so much. The other one is emotion sharing. So you're gonna take turns, and this is kind of the same thing, but you're gonna take turns sharing a recent experience that made you feel happy, made you feel sad, angry, any other. I mean, choose one of the 7 emotions, share a story that relates to it. And then while you're sharing, the other person's gonna listen. They're gonna ask follow-up questions. Again, trying to understand what was going on. When you ask these questions, they're open-ended. So, for instance, right, I feel hurt that you went out and didn't even ask me. Cool. Like, what part of this made you feel so hurt? That gives them a chance to then expand on it. It's not a yes or no answer. Are you hurt? Yes. Cool. That doesn't get us anywhere.
Yeah, you kind of have to listen too if you have open-ended questions, because then you can't just drop a yes or no.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
So then after you're done, obviously, you switch roles. So I use this one to help people build emotional intimacy with each other, because intimacy isn't just about sex. There's a lot more that goes into it.
You always tell me that. You say that a lot.
I do, because everybody just equates intimacy with sex, and that is bizarre to me that they
maybe you're doing it wrong.
Don't have it. Maybe I am doing it wrong. I don't know. We'll have to ask Melissa.
Get her on the show. Get her on the show. Sorry, derailed it.
You're good. You're good. What was the other one? Phone free time. I think everybody should do this once a week in their relationship. And it's literally, you choose 30 minutes or 1 hour where, if you don't want to turn your phone completely off, fine, but put it in another room, somewhere you can't hear it vibrate, anything. Put it on silent. If you have an iPhone, an iWatch, take it off. That watch needs to be gone during this time. And what you're going to do is you are going to practice active listening. So you're going to take the mirror listening. You're going to take emotion sharing, silent listening. I have a list of other ones as well. What were they? Check-ins, where you check in about how you're feeling about the relationship.
Touchstone moments.
Yeah, mindful listening. You're really just expressing sensory, what you're feeling, hearing, things like that. Less people enjoy doing that, so I really don't talk about it a whole lot.
Feelings.
What? But you just take a half hour to an hour to do that, to talk about the day, to talk about the week, to talk about the relationship, to talk about you. And you practice these things like we've been talking about: asking questions, making eye contact, using nonverbal cues, paying attention to their nonverbal cues. And also physical touch is a big one too. Never forget physical touch.
Is that intimacy?
It is intimate.
I'm learning some stuff. Yeah. I'll tell you what, dude.
But you do that for 30 minutes to an hour. I suggest you do it once a week. It's really good to just check in with each other without anything around. And that's kind of the crux of active listening.
So you're telling me that we need to listen to understand. To be actively listening, we're actually like actively understanding.
Yes.
Our partner, not listening to respond.
That is 100% correct. So again, you want to paraphrase and summarize when you're talking to them. You want to ask clarifying questions. You want to be empathetic. You want to validate emotions. You want to be non-judgmental and non-defensive. Judgment and defense are out. And you want to give them feedback on what they said and summarize what they said.
So when we're doing that, how do you like express, not how do you express, how do you validate someone else's emotions? What does that look like? Yeah, because if it's like, okay, let's say your wife comes up to you and she's like, I'm sad because this happened. And this that happened is something that you did wrong. How do you handle that? Well, I would assume you don't go, I'm sorry you feel that way.
No. I'm sorry you feel that way, or like, it's not the worst thing you can say, but it's pretty damn close.
Okay.
No, it's really like, I want to understand more about this. Like, tell me exactly why you're feeling this way. She'll express, why she's feeling that way. Okay, now that I have a better understanding, I get that you're upset about this and that I played an active role in making you upset.
Mhm.
I'm going to do my best to not allow that to happen. And here's how I'm going to do that. I have a plan to not do that. Maybe you didn't listen to him. Listen, next time this happens, I'm going to make an active attempt to stop what I'm doing, put everything down, look you in the eye and have a full-on conversation about what's going on, because I don't want you to not feel listened to, or I don't want you to feel like you weren't being listened to at any point in the relationship. That's on me. I apologize for it. And here's what I'm going to do to correct it.
So
So
you're actually going to make me do the thing.
You're going to
Instead
do
of
the
just
thing.
say the thing. I actually have to do the thing.
You have to do it. Yeah. Sorry.
You know, all those things that you told us about sound a lot like work.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wonder how many people in relationships spend 30 minutes in an entire week spread over all those days, even working with each other. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like not very many.
No, and that's Melissa and we've had so many conversations, and she's said it. She's like, well, that's one of the things I appreciate about you. Anytime I'm around her, even though my work's on my phone is just down. I rarely look at it. Like if a text or a phone call comes in, I look at it briefly. I really don't address it. And if we're at the dinner table, my phone's not around. 100% my phone will not be around me. Personally, I find that disrespectful and rude at a dinner table to be looking at your phone, when that should be that 30 minutes to an hour that you're spending with that individual.
Yeah. 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 Makes sense to me, man. I
So
always flip my phone upside down. Like, this means that it's you and me, not the phone.
yeah.
Yeah.
So really the crux is you're understanding them, you're giving them feedback, you're validating their emotions, and you're saying, I'm here to understand what you're actually trying to say. Uh-oh.
Sorry.
Another granola went down the wrong tube.
No, not this time. It's that Athletic Greens. I got a little micro green dust in my throat.
I got kale stuck in my throat.
It might have been kale. I don't actually know. Yeah, I mean, I think like one of the most valuable things that I take away from that is the necessity of taking action.
Yeah.
When you're validating someone's feelings, especially if they're coming to you with something that you've done, some sort of transgression, you know.
I mean, if you think about it, think about the empathy part of it. Now, I want you to put yourself in their shoes, and if you went to them and said, "Listen, I'm really hurt right now that you didn't even take the time to listen to me when I was explaining this. You were just on your phone." And they looked at you and said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I won't do it again." How would that make you feel?
We need to bring my son up on this show because he will do that to your face and then do the thing again and then say it to your face again. It makes me mad.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Like that's my I call my son patience to my wife when we're talking. My daughter is temper, because that's like the things that they force me to work on.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, super frustrating. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. Won't do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And it's the same in a relationship. Like if your wife came to you and said that, what does it mean? It means absolutely nothing.
So you're saying almost like when I told my wife a million times that I'd quit drinking or I would drink less. Are you saying that there was like a diminishing
Weird. Yeah.
like it meant less and less to her over
It
time?
did.
Weird. Okay.
It diminished trust. It diminished everything.
You're the relationship expert, man. I'll take your word for it. So, I guess I'll ask her or the attorney she hired at one point to file for divorce. You know, I don't know. She might know,
Yeah.
he might know,
Yeah.
somebody might know. Yeah. No, I think
Like, honestly, if you can get a handle on active listening in your relationship, there's really no conflict you can't handle.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that I mean, other than the non-negotiable actions you're not supposed to take
Yes.
that are that
Yeah.
you have,
Yeah.
but some of them even I'm sure like infidelity, those kinds of things can be not fixed, but handled better than if there wasn't active listening. Anyways,
100%. Yeah.
like if there
Yeah.
wasn't active listening, it's just a done deal.
Mhm.
Um, but if you can get both partners involved in to have a conversation to manage that conflict, navigate that conflict.
Yeah.
Um, that makes a lot of sense, man. Um, yeah, I wasn't a really good active listener while I was drinking. I was really good at active addiction, really not good at active listening. So, um, I mean, everything you're discussing are skills I picked up after getting sober. Um, some of it was I actually paid attention. Like my education was more than just working towards a piece of paper. It was actually like, oh shit, maybe I should pay attention to everything I'm learning in this interpersonal communication, to class that's all
Yeah.
about relationships.
Mhm.
Maybe I actually read about it, actively listen to what I'm reading.
Yeah.
I can apply it to my life. So
Mhm.
it makes a lot of sense. Just leave it to a relationship expert to hit us with that and ways to be better in a relationship.
That's I mean, that's why that's the core of my program is communication, is because if I can get them on the page with expressing themselves, with active listening, with managing conflict, they will have a turnaround in their relationship so quick that they won't even know what hit them.
Yeah. Cool. That was my experience. I was not fortunate enough to have your guidance. It probably would have been even smoother and easier of a transition. I mean,
Yeah.
not probably, it definitely would have. But once her and I could handle, like, when we could start communicating without prejudgment,
Yeah.
like, actually listen to what the other person's saying instead of deciding what you're going to say to what they were saying based
Yeah.
on previous experience, it opened doors, it
And
really
that's a
did.
tough one to change.
Dude,
It
huge.
takes some practice to not listen to respond.
Yeah, I still work on it. I'm work in progress. I think
Yes.
I always will be.
Yeah.
Because it depends on it depends on the person too. Like, my brother and I've been having like, we're not having tiffs or anything. He and I get along great. He's probably the person on the planet I get along with the best.
Mhm.
Sorry, Megan, if you're listening. But we've known. I've known him his whole entire life, and he's known me my whole life minus 2 years.
Yeah.
We've done more communicating with one another and have more experience with one another
Mhm.
than anybody else on planet, right? So it's like lately though, he has been. I'll say something and he will take it as if it was this other person in his life saying it, and he
Yeah.
treats me differently. Then he has to like rewind it and go, wait, why did I do that? And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
no, I don't understand. Like, I wasn't saying anything out of judgment. I was just talking with you.
Yeah.
Um, so it's weird.
Yeah.
Communication's a strange thing, dude.
Also, when you use active listening, you help control the emotion. And so you're not reacting to emotion, you're not acting on emotion, you're not communicating from emotion. You're kind of quelling the emotion, you're kind of knocking it down a little bit and controlling it to where you can have the conversation.
Yeah. Well, so that's one of the most valuable recovery tools that I have in my toolbox,
Mhm.
actually, because we have to be able to have our emotions. We can't like
Yeah.
do that, which is something a lot of us do. A lot of us actually use substances to accomplish that feat. But then when you start to feel them, you also can't let them run your life. So you
Yeah.
have to like chill, respond, and understand the feeling. Like
Mhm.
truly understand the feeling instead of
Yeah.
letting the feel like letting your emotion run your life.
Mhm.
Like your emotions are check engine lights, basically. They're like, there's something going on. It doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean anything. It means pay the fuck attention to what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Like, hey, and we have a tendency to I don't know. I mean, it's like we're behind the wheel for the first time, and the first time you do see a check engine light, like I panicked. It's like, what is going on? You know, like I knew what it meant, but I didn't know what that meant. You know, so I had to get my diagnostic scanner, my metaphorical diagnostic scanner, start to understand, like, what does this emotion mean when I'm feeling it? And I don't like. I feel like, and this is just me spitballing. I don't understand it well enough, but it's like our emotions are informed by our experiences. So, like, you maybe don't need to feel mad about this specific situation, but you feel anger because it's somehow related to, feels similar to, looks similar to something that caused frustration in the past. So then if you don't stop to listen to what's actually going on, you fly off the handle on somebody that does not deserve you losing your temper at all. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It makes complete sense. And that's where it comes in. Like, you're trying to understand this person for who they are, what they are, and where they're at.
Yeah. I get that.
Instead of I don't know, throwing shit on them that they don't deserve.
Yeah. Meet them where they are.
Because somebody else did something to you or something similar. Like, I can bring all that. I could bring all that into my relationship right now from previous relationships. And throw it around. But I've diminished all of what she is worth and all of what she is because I'm trying to place my other experiences with other people onto her. It's not fair to her. It's not fair to the relationship. And instead, I ask questions. I talk to her, and I understand where she is, who she is, and where she's at this particular moment.
Yeah. Let her be who she is instead of who you're thinking about that was doing that thing that you didn't like.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know. What is it? Poison ivy and some other thing look a hell of a lot like one another. One of them's going to be a bad day for you and the other one's not. But if you're not paying attention, there you go. You know? So there you go.
100%.
So you got any more active listening you want to hammer about?
I mean, I love active listening. It is such an important tool.
I like it. It's hard. And it makes me have to work in my relationship. And it's just so much easier when I ignore what my wife says and tell her what to do.
Dude, you know what the cool thing about active listening is? If just one person initiates it, you can drive the entire conversation in a positive direction, regardless of who you're talking to. Because you are showing them that you're paying attention, you're validating their feelings, you're doing these certain things, they're just subconsciously going to fall into the same type of conversation with you. Their emotions are going to come down. They're going to start doing the same thing.
You're establishing affinity with them, like without them even noticing that you're doing it. Sales 101, basically. You know? I say that often. You know, it's like being in a relationship is like marketing yourself to the other person. If you're doing it right, you're marketing yourself to the other person all the time. Like, you know, obviously there's some moral and ethical discussions that can be had about that. You know, don't be manipulating the other person or you're a freaking psychopath. But I
mean, anything can happen.
Use the power you get from us for good. Okay. There you go.
And if you're using it to save your relationship, there's no manipulation there.
I'm with you there. Totally with you there. Yeah.
I don't know. I love active listening. It works. I know it works, and active listening in and of itself is why I can tell people it only takes one to start to fix the relationship. Like, if you and your partner are having problems, you and your wife, if I give you these tools, you can get it back on track. by yourself just by doing these things.
Yeah, and it's like, it sounds like a lot of work, right? When we're talking about it, but I realize it's doing the hard work on the front end.
Yeah.
Like, instead of having the same damn conversation about the same thing and never getting resolution, you get to have a conversation once about the thing. You actually navigate the conflict, work through it together, deal with the thing. And you don't ever have to do it again. It's like, instead of building a giant mountain of shit you've swept under the rug, you're not doing that. Like, take it out to the trash. Yeah, dude, I appreciate that. Yeah, there's a lot to think of this episode, man.
There's a lot there.
There is. I mean, the worst part is none of it's new information. I mean, some of it is. Though I don't mean it that way, but it's like, so often, and I'll do this with my own clients. Like, I'll say something to them, and I'm like, "Damn, I haven't been doing a very good job at that in my own relationship." So yeah, cool, dude. So we're approaching that time.
We are. I hope everybody took something away from that.
Yeah,
get out there in Facebook, YouTube, Instagram world.
Whichever platform you might be seeing us on.
Hope everybody took something positive away from that.
Or they're just listening to the podcast, man. They might not even see us.
Yeah.
I think if you weren't actively listening to what he was saying, it's your own fault. So, he even taught you how to listen to him as he's talking to you about what to listen to. So, he held your hand. That was as meta as it gets. So you have to have taken something away from that if you were listening.
I hope so.
Yeah. And I think the cool thing is then you can take what you've learned and you can apply it to a relationship you have, even if it's not romantic. It could be anything that has power dynamics. This is where active listening becomes very useful. So your boss, you want that raise. Remember, use this thing ethically. Okay. Yeah. Jokes aside. Are we live tonight? We're live tonight, aren't we?
Yes, we are. 9 p.m. Central.
9 p.m. Central. We will be live again. That's what's up. So, hope to see you tonight also. Less structured are our evening shows. They're more like fireside chats than they are kind of lesson topic driven. Next week is my week. Next Friday. For the topic, and I think I'm going, because we just talked about detox and rehab. I think I'm going to follow that up with what it was like to be freshly sober in the middle of a pandemic, the beginning of a pandemic, and how freaking awfully eye-opening that was of an experience. Because it wasn't that awful. I'm sober. I'm still sober.
But that's when the rest of us, our drinking kind of skyrocketed during that time.
Yeah, it's weird. So many of my clients are like, yeah, like COVID really just did a lot to me. I'm like, yeah, I got sober. That's when I got sober.
To me, it wasn't COVID. It was that I was, and I'll talk more about this tonight or next week when you talk about it. But there were things on like TikTok lives, Instagram lives, and people were having they were sitting down drinking with you. It was like a drinking party. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, sat there and made tequila, and you all sat around and drank tequila with him.
Bro, I got invited to a Zoom meeting. It was like a class reunion Zoom meeting thing. And I was like, yeah, cool. Like, one of the cool kids from high school invited me to this. I'm going to go. And they were playing drinking games. And I was like, yeah, so currently I'm in sober living. I'm going to go. But thanks for the invite. I appreciate it. Like, I'm not even a month sober, really. So I don't think I want to hang out with you guys on Zoom if you get drunk. But yeah, I guess I'll talk about that some too. Yeah, anyways, we will see you this evening. If we see you this evening, if we don't, we'll see you next week. Yeah, we will bid you adieu and see you in a couple hours, hopefully.
Goodbye.